Love can survive many things, but without trust, it cannot survive at all. Have you ever really stopped to think about what happens inside the human mind when a promise is broken? We talk about heartbreak all the time, usually like it's just a profound feeling of sadness. But psychologically, it is so much more complex than that. Today, we are going to explore a really fascinating case study of how easily a promise can shatter and what actually happens to the human spirit in the aftermath. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the actual anatomy of a broken promise and the real emotional toll of deception. We're going to look at a scenario that might feel incredibly familiar, breaking it down into distinct phases to see exactly how trust is built, how it's eroded, and ultimately how it collapses entirely. To really grasp this, we'll follow a clear timeline. First, the initial promise on day one. Then, the distance that slowly creeps in months later. Next, the inescapable discovery at a coffee shop, and finally, the emotional fallout. Let's trace the exact lines where trust cracks.
Part 1. The Illusion of Forever.
Picture this, a boy and a girl sitting on a bench in Central Park. They're laughing, enjoying the evening, and everything feels secure, grounded, intensely permanent. The girl asks for a guarantee, and the boy readily provides it. But notice the language here, always. No matter what. Psychologically speaking, that sets incredibly high stakes. When we throw around absolute words like always, we aren't just expressing how we feel right now, we are literally writing a verbal contract for the future. And we do this because of what we call the comfort of absolutes. It creates this cozy psychological safety net where both people buy into a shared illusion of forever. It feels absolutely amazing in the moment to hear someone say they'll never leave you. But here's the catch. When that safety net fails, the fall is catastrophic. The higher the promise, the more devastating the impending betrayal is going to be, simply because your foundational reality was built on a guarantee that's about to be voided.
Part 2. The Psychology of Avoidance.
Fast forward a few months, the whole vibe changes. The girl keeps calling, but he's just not answering. That beautiful safety net we just talked about, it begins to fray as connection is abruptly replaced by distance. Have you ever noticed how someone pulling away emotionally almost always manifests as weird, unexplained physical distance? Well, this is avoidance. When someone breaks the rules of a relationship, the guilt triggers cognitive dissonance. It's this incredibly stressful clash between their shady actions and their belief that they're a good person. Looking their partner in the eye becomes agonizing, so they just evade. They pull away. And that leads to interactions exactly like this one. The girl, naturally worried, asks why he's changed so much. His response is ice cold. I've been busy, okay? I can't talk all the time. The truly crucial point here is that I'm busy isn't an itinerary. It is a psychological brick wall. It's a shield used to deflect her completely valid worries. It turns her bid for connection into an annoyance, making her feel like she's asking for way too much, when in reality, she's just asking for the bare minimum of the always he previously promised. Avoidance shows up in some very predictable glaring red flags. Unanswered calls, sudden personality changes, cold, defensive responses, and using busyness as a shield. What's really insidious about this behavior is how it subtly shifts the blame onto the partner who is simply seeking connection. Instead of the boy admitting his own misdeeds, his defensiveness makes the girl feel like she is the one overreacting. It is a classic, yet completely heartbreaking diversion tactic.
Part 3. The Courage to Lie.
Suddenly, that wall of busyness crumbles completely. The girl spots him at a coffee shop, and he's not alone. He's with another girl, and they look very, very close. Confronting him with tears in her eyes, she asks, "So this is what you've been busy with?" Her tearful question is about so much more than just catching him. The layers of betrayal run deep here. It is the gut-wrenching realization that all his defensive anger from before, acting annoyed because he was so busy, was entirely fabricated. He manufactured frustration just to protect his secret. This perfectly frames the sheer cowardice of betrayal. The girl realizes that looking someone directly in the eye and actively deceiving them requires a very specific, dark kind of courage, a willingness to completely overwrite reality. Yet this person somehow lacked the basic, vulnerable courage required to just tell the truth. When he's finally caught, what does he say? "I wanted to tell you, I just didn't know how." He desperately attempts to use his lack of communication skills as a final excuse for his deception. He frames his betrayal like a passive failing, just an inability to find the right words. But she sees right through this.
She points out that he actively had the courage to lie. Lying is not passive, it's an action. It is a deliberate, daily choice to maintain a facade. Part 4. Reclaiming your self-respect.
Moving into this final scene, we witness a profound shift from victimization to total empowerment. It forces us to ask an essential psychological question. When the illusion of forever is shattered, when the absolute promises are broken and the safety net is totally gone, what actually survives a broken heart? Is an individual's entire identity destroyed along with the relationship? Well, the answer, so powerfully demonstrated here, is self-respect. While the heart might be in pieces, the core of an individual's worth absolutely does not have to be tied to the person who betrayed them. As the boy stands there ashamed, begging, "Please forgive me," the girl delivers an incredibly defining statement. "You broke my heart, but you didn't break my self-respect." This is a massive psychological pivot. She actively acknowledges her emotional pain. She's not pretending she isn't hurt, but she absolutely refuses to let his deceitful actions destroy her foundational identity. She draws a hard, undeniable boundary between what he did to her emotions and what he is allowed to do to her self-worth. Part 5. The fragile core of trust. As the girl walks away, leaving the boy standing alone and ashamed, we really have to look at why a simple "I'm sorry" isn't enough to magically rewind the clock. Trust wasn't just broken in one isolated moment at a coffee shop. It was a step-by-step deconstruction. It started with that absolute promise, establishing a baseline of safety. Then came the steady drip of lies, cold avoidance, and defensive anger. Then the shock of the revelation. All of this results in the irrevocable alteration of the relationship dynamic. You just cannot unsee the capacity for deception in someone you love.
The girl summarizes this psychological reality perfectly. Maybe I can forgive you someday. But trust? Trust never comes back the same. She intuitively recognizes an essential truth. Forgiveness and trust, they are two completely different things. Forgiveness is a personal journey she might eventually take to find her own peace. It's about letting go of the anger. But trust? Trust is the bridge between two people. And once that bridge has been burned by intentional deception, its fundamental structure has been permanently altered.
So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to consider the next time you make or break a promise. Can trust ever truly be rebuilt to its original form, or does betrayal leave a permanent watermark on the human heart? It's a heavy question, for sure, but an absolutely essential one for understanding the true weight of the words we say to the people we love. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring the fascinating psychology of the world around you.